You know, when you think of ancient Egypt, you probably picture massive pyramids, golden treasures, powerful pharaohs, right? But what if I told you we're going on a hunt for a ghost, a king whose name is on the books, but whose entire life just seems to have vanished into thin air?
And that's the absolute heart of the mystery here. We've got a name, right? It's even in a cartouche, which is basically the ancient Egyptian seal of approval for royalty. This guy should have been one of the most powerful people on the planet. But when we go looking for him, for his story, his legacy, anything, there's just nothing. Total radio silence.
So where did this name even pop up? Well, let's dive into the story of a pharaoh who seems to be a complete historical phantom. His name is Senedj.
Okay, so the name is Senedj. We see it on these official king lists, documents written centuries after he was supposed to have reigned. And they place him squarely in Egypt's Second Dynasty. But here's the thing. That's it. That's where the trail just goes completely cold. Other pharaohs, they left us giant pyramids, temples, tombs. Senedj, he left us his name. And that's all.
And this is the question that has been driving Egyptologists crazy for years. I mean, think about it. How does a king's entire reign just poof, disappear? It couldn't, right? It's kind of like finding a president's name in a history book, but then realizing you can't find a single law they passed, not one picture, not even where they're buried. It just doesn't add up.
So to really get a handle on how bizarre this is, let's talk about this evidence gap. And I'm not talking about just one or two missing documents. We're talking about a complete and total void where an entire king's history is supposed to be.
So check this out. We've got a pretty clear timeline for the Second Dynasty. We know the kings who came before, we know the kings who came after. It's a solid chain of succession. But then you get to the middle and bam, there's this gap, a historical black hole. And right in the middle of that hole is where Senedj is supposed to be.
So what exactly is missing here? Well, basically everything. There's no tomb, which for a pharaoh was like the #1 project of your entire life. There are no statues of him to show us what he looked like or project his power, no carvings boasting about his great victories, not even any boring administrative records or royal decrees. For a pharaoh, this is the historical equivalent of never having existed in the first place.
All right, so when you have a mystery this big, you're going to get some pretty wild theories. And historians have come up with 3 main possibilities to try and explain how a pharaoh could just disappear from history. So what happened? Was he the king of a fractured, broken-down empire? Was he the victim of an ancient conspiracy to erase him? Or was he just a forgotten ruler, totally swallowed by time? Let's break it down.
Okay, theory number 1. It basically says that during this period, the Second Dynasty, Egypt wasn't this big, unified superpower we always picture. It might have actually been broken up into smaller, rival kingdoms. And if that's true, maybe Senedj was just a minor king ruling over a little piece of the pie. His reign would have been too small, too localized, to ever build the kind of grand monuments that would have lasted through the ages.
Then we get to theory number 2, and this one is way more dramatic. It suggests Senedj didn't just fade away. He was erased on purpose. The idea here is that whoever came after him had some big political or religious beef and ordered a full-on campaign to wipe every single trace of Senedj off the map.
And we actually have a huge clue that something like this could have happened. See, a later king in this same dynasty, a guy named Pharaoh, did something absolutely radical. For centuries, the pharaoh was associated with the god Horus, the falcon. Pharaoh, he ditched Horus completely and picked up the symbol of Seth, the god of chaos, storms, and the desert. I mean, that is a massive political and religious statement. It's a total break from tradition, and it's exactly the kind of move that might make you want to erase the guy who came just before you.
All right, our third theory is maybe the least exciting, but it's totally plausible. What if Senedj was just a temp, maybe a regent or a king who had a super short reign? He could have just been a placeholder between more important rulers and never had the time or the money to start those huge building projects that get you remembered. In that case, he wasn't erased, he was just forgotten.
So we've got these different theories, but the truth is we don't have a final answer. And what this whole mystery really leaves us with is a really big question about how history is made, what we choose to remember, and what it meant to have power in the ancient world.
And you have to understand something really crucial about the ancient Egyptians. For them, your name wasn't just a label, it was everything. It was your key to surviving in the afterlife. Having your name remembered and spoken meant you could live forever. But to have it hacked off a wall, chiseled away from stone, that was basically condemning your soul to be completely annihilated.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? Whether he was a minor king, a political victim, or just a footnote, the end result is the same. A void where a pharaoh should be. And if he was erased, you have to ask yourself, what could a pharaoh possibly do to deserve not just death, but the total destruction of his very soul? Who wanted Senedj gone? And that is a question that might just stay buried in the desert forever.